Hi everyone, welcome back to the Reclaimed Ranch. My name is Tara, and today I have 4 different projects that are dupes. So I went online and this year I'm going to change my theme a little bit. I was more traditional with the greens and reds up until now, but this year I want more of a winter scene, and that's going to involve some more greens and whites and brown tones and some golds. So I went online and found some white and gold ornaments, some gold deer, and a tree that I wanted to dupe. And I saved a ton of money just by, using the things around the house that I already had. So I hope you enjoy this video, and please let me know what your favorite is. And I will tell you what my favorite is at the end of the video, so stick around. Okay, so project number 1, I found on Wayfair these gorgeous vintage looking bells, and for a set of 3 they wanted $119.99. That's a bit steep for me, so I went to the Dollar Tree and I bought their gold plastic bells, took off all of the greenery and the ribbon and stuff, and of course they're still going to be lightweight, but I think I can make them look way more higher end than what they are. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using some fusion metallic paints along with some rub and buff. So I'm going to be using antique gold and Spanish copper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mix. So I put more of the antique gold and a little bit of the Spanish copper. I'm going to mix it up, and that's going to give me that beautiful vintage gold color I'm looking for. Whenever I use rub and buff, I always use a glove because it's so hard to get off and it dries almost instantly. So I'm just going to rub this color around. I just need one base coat on real quick, and then I'll let it dry, and then I'll put another coat on of the same mixture and let that dry, which, like I said before, with this rub and buff does not take very long at all. And so by the time I was done with the third bell with the first coat, the first bell was ready for its second coat. So that made it nice. So now I'm going to take my Fusion Metallics bronze color. And this is like an old stencil brush I got from Walmart. And I'm just going to kind of stipple some of that bronzer color on there. And that's going to give it that old aged look, vintage vibe, and gives it some more depth and dimension. And so you can kind of see a little bit how you can see the different two-tone colors coming through. And so that was my my thought process on this. And after I got these done with the bronze, I set those aside to dry, and then I had to figure out a way to make a ring on top. So I had bought off of Amazon those little rings that are like they come apart. It's like a little claw. I don't know how to explain it, but I'll show you in just a second. And so I bought them to hang on a pipe, and they were too small. These little guys right here. I don't quite know what they're for or what they're called, but anyway, I had lots of those laying around, so I'm going to go in with my bronze color metallic, do a coat of bronze on there, and then I'm also going to, when that dries, take some of the Spanish copper rub and buff and add that to those rings, and that's really going to make that old crusty look that I'm going for. And so I had originally, you can see at the top there, I was working with some clay, and I had made these little bells to go inside, but I really didn't like how they turned out. So I took the bells out, and I just left the clay in there at the top, and that's going to be able to hold that ring vertical for me. And once the clay dries, it's got a solid hold. So this next one I found, I have this gilded tinsel Iron Orchid Designs transfer, and I had a long time ago bought some of the shatterproof bulbs, but these were already painted white. So I wanted some white and gold for my tree this year. I'm pretty much a traditionalist in the way that I used to always have reds and greens. However, this year I kind of want to change it up and make it my own kind of winter scene so that I can keep the decorations up through February. And so a lot of people I've heard have had troubles with these golded or gilded transfers, but honestly, I think they work just fine. You just go real lightly, and it's just like a transfer. If it isn't transferring all the way, you just put it back down. You can see I'm kind of looking through, and then what I do is I flipped it over, and instead of using the side that you're burnishing with the foil on there, you flip it over so that you don't get more foil in areas you don't want to. So I just kind of held the snowflake in the middle, worked my way to the outside on each of the little arms there of the snowflake, and when it transferred onto the bulb, the paper lifted back up, and it seemed to work out great. I didn't really have any problems at all with these, and I think they turned out beautiful. As you saw in the clip before, for a set of 4 of these, it was $80. Now, granted, they did have glass bulbs, and I'm not sure if the gold was real or not, but still, that's fairly expensive. So for way fraction of the price, I can do several of these from Hobby Lobby and still have the same effect. It's going to be just gorgeous. So I decided to do a tree line. Now with these, you got to be real careful because you're working on your roundest surface. So you got to try and go in a straight line. So that's what I was more worried about. But I watched Sonnet do these transfers on a rounded surface, and she said if you start at one side, and you can see as I go along, that transfer will come up and it kind of releases itself. So you just keep working your way around in little parts and make sure you're going up and down. Again, just checking the transfer to make sure it's releasing. And I'm checking my alignment there, and I'm going to continue to go around just real gingerly. With these ones, because it's just a really light foil, you don't have to push real hard. I think that was a problem with a lot of people, is they're pushing way too hard and then they're getting too much of the foil around the actual image part that was adhering as well. So just go real gingerly. And then once I took that off, it laid down really nicely, but then I had one little spot that didn't have a tree. And of course that was going to bug me. So I had to go back in, find another little tree, and there was one more tree line in here. And I just cut off the end one. Just tried to find a piece that was going to kind of fit that spot. So cut off a couple of trees on the end, and then did the same thing, just put it in that little hole there, and that satisfied my OCD. So but yeah, these turned out just beautiful. And I don't think I'm going to seal it because, you know, I'm only going to be pulling them out once a year. And so they're going to be hanging on a tree. So I think that they're going to be safe enough. But I wanted to go ahead and put some gold foil on the silver caps as well. So I'm going to go in just with some Mod Podge and some of my gold foil flakes and add just that gold on the top part of the silver so that it all is cohesive and looks more high-end. And then I did use a nice velvet white ribbon to hang these on the tree. So that definitely turns it into more of a high-end project, I think. But you can even get these bulbs from the clear bulbs from the Dollar Tree, and you can pour some white paint inside, swirl it around, and then tip it upside down until it dries completely overnight, and then you have your white bulb to start with. So very cost effective to do something like this. You don't have to spend $80 for four bulbs, and yeah, we're gonna get the same effect. So that's kind of fun about these dupes, is, you know, you're making pretty much the same thing for hardly anything. So that's what I like about it. So here I'm just using my little artist brush to help push that foil down, because this stuff does fly. I mean, you breathe too heavy and it goes flying. So got to be kind of careful with that, but it's nice to use a little paintbrush to help it adhere down and get into all the little cracks and crevices. Now this second set is a very old vintage set of golden bulbs, glass bulbs, and my friend gave me. And so what I want to do is they have the silver tops. So again, I'm just going to go in with some of that antique gold rub and buff and a little bit of the Spanish copper, and I'm going to just kind of blend it in a little bit more. Since everything else is going to have gold tops, I might as well do these as well. So same thing, just go in with my little artist brush. I'm going to paint the rub and buff on. And by the time I end up doing the very last one with this color, I can go in with the next color. So that makes it very simple, very easy project, and it's going to look beautiful. So this next one I found online for $35 each. It's from West Haven and Company. It's this beautiful deer, and it's a candle holder. And it's like, I don't know if it's brass or gold plated, but it looks really, really pretty, kind of vintage colored. And so that's what my inspiration was. And when I was out yard selling this summer, these were out on a table for $5 each. So I grabbed them up, and they're super heavy. And so I'm going to color them with Fusion Metallic Vintage Gold. This is one of my favorite colors for the metallics. And I'm going to go ahead and put one coat on. I'm going to let it dry really well. But these metallics dry super fast. If you have a thin enough coat, they're almost like rub and buff, where it's like almost automatically dry. And so I let it dry for a little while, and then I went in with the second coat, and that gave me the exact amount of gold that I wanted for these. It looked like brass deer. And so, but of course with me, if you've been following me for very long, you know I'm totally into vintage antique style. So I don't leave my gold just the way it is. I like to make it a little bit grungy and more vintage looking. So then I'm gonna end up putting some dark wax on these deer, and I'm gonna really push it down into all the nooks and crannies in the antler area, and where the tea lights are held. There is some texture to the metal, and so it was able to get into those areas really well. The body of the deer is actually really smooth, but I still think it ended up coloring it very nicely. So all in all, I'm into this project about $15 for the set, whereas the dupe, they wanted $35 each. So I think it turned out really good. You'll have to let me know what you guys think. I love this Fusion Furniture Wax, especially this color Espresso. It's just a really nice buttery wax, and so it glides on just super smooth. And then I do end up getting my little shop towel there and then just kind of wiping over it lightly to remove any extras that don't need to be on there. But for the most part, I loved the color that it gave the deer, so I didn't want to wipe too much off. So this last project is going to be a dupe from Front Gate, and I saw this beautiful white Christmas tree with gold tips, and I thought that was just stunning. And so they wanted 109 originally, but it was down to 87.20. No, thank you. So when I was out hunting yard sales this summer again, I found a Christmas tree. It was a ceramic one. And so I thought this would be perfect to dupe. And so what I did was I took DIY paint. It's a clay-based paint in White Swan. I gave it a good 2 coats of this, and then I let them dry completely in between because it's such a slippery surface. You want to allow it to dry so that it can grab really well. And then I came back and I mixed some of the DIY White Swan with salt wash, which is a substance that helps create texture for your paints. And that stuff grabs like no one's business. Like it'll stick to pretty much anything. So with that texture, it looked like that tree at Front Gate was kind of texturized. And so I took it, the first coat I just got on the tree, just like I am here, just painting it on. The second textured coat, I went and stippled it. And I made sure to get more of that really cool raised textured effect. And let that dry overnight completely. And it was seriously like rock hard the next day. That stuff was not coming off. So then I end up using some of the Posh Chalk I got from my friend Debbie. She has a store that she sells this gold Posh Chalk mixture. And it was just the perfect gold I was looking for. Not too yellow, not too dingy. So that's why I ended up going with this stuff instead of my Rub and Buff or Fusion metallic paints. And another tip I was going to say is if you don't have like salt wash or a texturizing component for your paint, you can always use baking soda. It does the exact same thing, and pretty much every household has baking soda. So that's another tip. And you don't have to use a chalk paint, but I would recommend it over an acrylic because chalk paint does tend to stick to really slick surfaces better than an acrylic will. So that's why I did end up going this route, is because I didn't want to have to mess around with spraying it with the clear coat matte sealer before painting, which is another thing that you can do to help it stick and adhere too. So So what I want, here I am using a small fan brush, and I wanted this type of shape because I want it to be kind of sporadic and just kind of fan out really lightly over the limbs. And this is totally personal preference. So you can do, they just did very teeny amounts on the very, very tips of it, but I did kind of want it more of the gold to showcase, and so I ended up doing more even up the ridges of the tree limbs and the ends, kind of like if it was like snow sitting on the tree, except it's gold. And so that was kind of my thought process behind it. But all in all, I think this turned out super pretty, and I cannot wait to put this in. You remember a couple videos ago I found, I don't know if I showed you, but I found a really cool set with bottle brush trees, and it had 4 Christmas houses that I'm going to make over. And so I'm going to make those white and gold as well. And this is just going to fit in perfect with that. So I can't wait. I'm almost ready to decorate for Christmas. How crazy is that? It's so crazy. Halloween's this weekend or this week. And yeah, it's just going so quick that Christmas is going to be here before we know it. So maybe I'll try and make over that Christmas village for Friday's video. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm excited. So what did you guys think? My favorite is definitely the deer. I just think they went from meh, it was a metal deer, but it was poorly painted silver. I think it was maybe like a mirrored color underneath, but there was scratches and they just were not looking good. So, but that vintage metallic gold is so gorgeous, and with a little bit of the dark espresso wax on there, it was just, I think, perfection. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you have a wonderful week. I will be back on Friday. I'm thinking I'm going to try and do the Christmas Village. I'm going to try and flip that for next Friday. So we'll see how that turns out. Take care, y'all, and we'll see you then. Bye.